Hello again. The next question was about the Lord's Prayer, focused on God and then our needs and our situation. You ask, how important is it to the believers? Well, first of all, we need to think who taught the Lord's Prayer and who asked. It was the disciples of Jesus, and Jesus taught the Lord's Prayer. Therefore, it has to be important. But as I was suggesting in my teaching on this, it's a framework for our prayers. It's a pattern we can use, and there are lots of principles in it. It doesn't mean that the only way we can pray is using the Lord's Prayer. And in fact, I would suggest if we constantly use that prayer, the danger with set prayers is that we don't really communicate our heart. If you read the Psalms of largely of David, in different circumstances, David prays very different things. Sometimes he's so grateful to God. Sometimes he's desperate for God to move in his life. There's an authenticity there that often in set prayers isn't there. So my suggestion really is that we use the principles of the prayer and the pattern of the prayer to guide us in our prayer. So just a quick reminder of the principles. Worship God first rather than coming in with my needs. Sometimes in our prayer, committing to follow God and his will, recognizing that might not be the same as what we want. Then bringing our needs to God, not really what we want on top of our needs, but what are our real needs, and thinking of the needs of others before ourselves. Remembering, of course, forgiveness. We've received forgiveness, but have we forgiven other people from our heart? Imagine a brother in the church had said some unkind things to us. Have we forgiven him for what he said? That's reminding us in the Lord's Prayer about forgiveness. And then also thinking about the very real situations of temptation and the evil one, the enemy, and praying for protection against those. These are the principles. We don't necessarily have to pray them in that order, but they're a good order to use. And occasionally it might be helpful for you to meditate on the Lord's Prayer, the words of the Lord's Prayer, just praying them very slowly in your heart and thinking of their meaning. And occasionally, if you've done some teaching on the Lord's Prayer to your church family, it might be helpful to say the Lord's Prayer, but not every week, just occasionally. Because if you say set prayers every week, they often lose their meaning, and people can say them with their mind, but their hearts aren't connecting with it. And the most important thing that you can learn from the Psalms is to be real with God, be authentic with God, to tell him what's really on your heart, and to be open and honest with him about your failings. That's the realness of the Psalms, which I think I'd like to combine with the pattern and principles of the Lord's Prayer. I hope you find that helpful.